Welcome back to the TPS Podcast. TPS stands for Trillions Per Second, named after the book. Today is a banger of an episode. We're doing a deep dive on the LFG battle cry of the author. So let's fucking go.
Well, that is certainly one way to rip the Band-Aid off.
And to be done.
The energy in the studio is definitely matching the signal we're getting from the source today, though.
It has to, right? Because, I mean, look at the date stamp on this thing.
Friday, February 20, 2026.
Exactly. This isn't just another devlog. It's not a philosophical ramble. This feels like a deployment notification.
It effectively is.
We are recording this right on the heels of what feels like a seismic shift in the project.
Yeah, if you've been tracking the project and, if you're listening to this deep dive, you definitely have been. The last few weeks have been incredibly volatile. I mean, we've had the initial commit, the massive scope creep, and
the melting chassis bug.
The melting chassis bug just a few days ago on the 17th.
We were genuinely worried the whole project was going to crash and burn.
Oh, absolutely. For a minute there, it looked like the physics engine was incompatible with human hardware.
Yeah, there was a real risk that the protocols were too overclocked for the average user.
Precisely. But today marks a finish line, or perhaps more accurately, a starting line.
A starting line, yeah.
The gold master for part 1 has officially dropped.
And the title of this log tells you everything you need to know about the mood in the dev team right now.
It really does.
The file is TPS devlog 013lfg.pdf. And just so we're all on the same page, LFG stands for Let's Fucking Go.
It is a fascinating choice of title for a project rooted in contemplative technology.
Right.
Usually when you look at the legacy the Buddhist texts, the spiritual manuals, chapters are titled things like The Peace of Nibbana or Tranquil Insight.
You expect lotus flower blooming, not LFG.
Exactly. LFG is gamer vernacular. It's the shout you hear in a lobby before a raid starts.
Yeah, it's aggressive.
It's aggressive, it's high energy, it signals a major shift from building the tool to running the tool.
It captures that specific ethos the author, C4 Chaos, has been cultivating. This isn't a religion, it's a server raid.
It's that hardcore Dharma vibe we talked about. It's not about sitting under a tree and smiling, it's about hacking the kernel.
And honestly, reading through this log, you get the sense that the author is almost relieved.
Relieved, and perhaps a bit exhausted. The log opens with a candid admission. C4 Chaos writes, I kicked off the TPS project about a month ago. I had no clue the work would mutate like a virus.
A virus? That is such a loaded word.
Very much so.
Especially in a simulation context.
It implies it took on a life of its own. We're looking at the transition from a messy, chaotic beta phase where everything was breaking to a stable release.
Right.
The mission of this deep dive is to review the deployment status of Chapter 1, but also to understand why it took so long.
Why did we have this delay?
Right, the delay caused by the master lexicon.
That lexicon was the bottleneck. But before we get to the fix, let's unpack the mutation.
Okay.
Because when you look at the timeline, it's actually insane.
It is.
The project started on January 24, 2026.
Less than a month ago.
Yeah. In 4 weeks, this thing went from, hey, I have an idea for a book, to a GitHub repository, to a full-blown simulation framework with a physics engine and a diagnostic suite.
That speed is characteristic of what we call the Centaur workflow. We have to remember, C4 Chaos isn't working alone in a cabin with a typewriter.
Right, the digital synths.
The AI agents, Grok, Gemini, the whole symphony. Yeah. When you collaborate with high-speed intelligence, ideas don't just grow linearly, they mutate.
They cross-pollinate.
Exactly. You feed the AI a concept about suffering, and it instantly maps it to system latency and suggests a diagnostic protocol. That accelerates the mutation of the project significantly.
But that speed comes with a cost. The log mentions spending weeks tearing the old code apart. Now, for anyone who might need a refresher, when he says old code, he's talking about the Abhidharma, right?
Correct. The Abhidharma is the ancient tabular analysis of mind from the Buddhist canon. It is incredibly dense, precise, and well antiquated.
It's written for an agricultural society.
Exactly. It talks about seeds and roots and floods. The author spent weeks refactoring this.
And refactoring is the key term here.
Yes. In software engineering, refactoring doesn't mean you delete the program and start over. It means you clean up the code.
You make it more efficient.
You update the syntax.
So he wasn't destroying the teachings. He was stripping out the agricultural metaphors, the legacy UI to fit the simulation, or the native UI.
He was ensuring that when a modern user reads the manual, they aren't confused by farming analogies. They need to see latency, not suffering. They need to see flux, not impermanence.
And the log describes this process as an endless loop. Refactoring, testing, debugging. It sounds grueling.
It had to be. Remember the overclocking error we discussed in the melting chassis deep dive?
Oh, yeah.
That was a direct result of this refactoring process. They translated a concept too literally, realized it defied the laws of physics and biology, and had to patch it immediately.
That's what they've been doing for 4 weeks. Breaking the system to see where the weak points were.
And clearly they found a lot of weak points.
But it seems like the biggest hurdle, the thing that really held up Chapter 1, was this master lexicon.
Yes. The author states explicitly, I needed a bulletproof master lexicon.
Why was that so critical? I mean, why not just release the chapters as they were written? Why hold everything back for a glossary?
Because in this framework, the lexicon isn't just a glossary, it's a logic checker. It acts as the compiler for the code.
Okay, let's unpack that. How does a list of words act as a logic checker?
Think about it this way. If you are writing a complex program and you define a variable, say user ID, but in another part of the code you call it player name.
The program crashes.
Exactly. It doesn't compile.
Syntax error.
The TPS project is attempting to map subjective human experience, which is messy and vague,
Right.
onto a rigid system architecture.
Right.
The lexicon ensures that every single time the manual mentions suffering, it maps correctly to latency. Every time it mentions impermanence, it maps to flux.
And every time it mentions self, it maps to null pointer.
Exactly. So it's a translation layer.
It is the strict translation layer.
If the lexicon is buggy, if the definitions are loose, the whole manual falls apart. The simulation metaphor breaks down if you start mixing in soul or spirit randomly. It has to be perfectly consistent.
That makes total sense.
Right.
If you're claiming this is a technical manual, you can't have poetic ambiguity in the variable definition.
Precisely. And the log highlights the author's attitude toward this. Imagine rushing the rest of the work. Hard pass.
Hard pass. I love that. It shows a real dedication to integrity.
It prioritizes code quality, which in the legacy system we would call wisdom,
Right.
over speed, or just shipping the book to get sales. C4 Chaos prioritized the structural integrity of the logic over the dopamine hit of a release.
And the result, according to the log, is a universal interface for contemplative technology. That is a massive claim.
It is a bold claim. It implies this isn't just for Buddhists, it isn't just for gamers, it's a universal adapter.
Wow.
If you have a mind and you are trying to understand itself, this interface should work. It effectively says, here's the source code for consciousness, stripped of all cultural skinning.
And that brings us to the big moment. The reason for the LFG. The rollout.
Yes, the status update. Enough talk. Chapter 1 is deployed. Checkpoint 01 is live.
Let's walk through what is actually live right now, because for a listener who maybe hasn't refreshed the repo in a few days, this is a significant dump of content.
It is. These aren't drafts anymore. These are stable modules.
First up, we have Part 1, Diagnostic. Specifically, the system roadmap or the installation wizard.
We covered this extensively in a previous deep dive. This is the map.
Yeah.
This is the spiral that takes you from noob, which is the default infected state, all the way to root access.
The journey from malware-ridden zombie to sysadmin.
Exactly. And having this marked as stable is huge. It means the path is verified.
It means the route is safe. They've likely patched the issues where users were getting stuck in the defrag or the dark night without a map. Now, the installation wizard explicitly guides you through those crash zones.
Next, we have Chapter 1, the physics engine. This is the meat of the update.
This is the foundation of the reality tunnel.
1.1 system specs, the refresh rate.
Right, this is the codification of the trillions per second concept. It is now official doctrine. Reality is not continuous, it is discrete, it frames, it refreshes.
1.2, the avatar, hardware, and input ports.
This is the refactor of the biochassis and the Salatana. It stops you from identifying with the body as me and forces you to see it as equipment, a dense cluster of voxels you are currently piloting.
1.3, the 3 signatures.
But diagnostic tools.
Yeah.
The flux, the lag, and the null pointer. These are now the official metrics for analyzing the data stream. If it flickers, it's flux. If it hurts, it's lag. If you can't find the user, it's the null pointer.
And finally, 1.4, the hardcore ethos.
This one is crucial. The map is not the territory. It's the disclaimer that keeps you sane. It reminds the user that reading the manual is not the same as hacking the system.
The distinction between live and draft here feels really important.
It is the difference between a beta test and a production release. Before this log, these documents were dev notes.
They were liable to change.
You might base your practice on them, and then the author realizes, oops, that caused the seizures, like we saw with the melting chassis.
Risky installs.
Now they're deployed. What this means for you, the user listening right now, is that the code is stable.
You can safe install these concepts into your worldview.
You can adopt the view that suffering is latency without fearing a blue screen of death or a logical collapse later down the line.
The system architecture holds up.
The trusses are load-bearing.
But there's something new here, something we haven't actually done a deep dive on yet, appearing in the live list. Checkpoint 01, stream analysis.
Yes, this is the brand new addition to the live list. What exactly is stream analysis?
Based on our background knowledge of the roadmap and the Centaur context, stream analysis corresponds to the first stage of insight. In the legacy code, this is Namarupa Paricheta.
Defining mind and matter.
Exactly. But in the TPS framework, it's packet sniffing.
Packet sniffing.
It is the moment where the user stops looking at the website, the smooth rendered illusion of the world, and starts looking at the packets, the raw data hitting the input ports.
So it's distinguishing between the data stream, which is matter, and the observer, which is mind.
Correct. And this is where the theory ends and the practice begins. This is the first hack.
Up until now, we've been reading the manual. Checkpoint 01 is where you open the terminal and type the first command.
And the log is very specific about this. It calls it an action plan. It explicitly tells users to check out the roadmap deep dive we did previously.
Which is a lovely bit of meta-commentary. We're officially part of the documentation ecosystem.
We are the tutorial level voices.
Huh. But seriously, this shift to action brings us back to that title, LFG.
Stop the boot loop. View the roadmap. Hack the simulation.
That's the closing line. It's so punchy. Stop the boot loop. That refers to our kazoo player, doesn't it?
It does. We have to go back to that interview with C4 Chaos. The boot loop is the kazoo player, the ego, stuck in a rut, playing in the same terrible tune over and over again, ignoring the symphony of the universe.
And hacking the simulation is putting the kazoo down.
It's putting the kazoo down and listening to the orchestra. It is the shift from passive listener to active hacker. The log is essentially saying the manual is written, the bugs are squashed, no more excuses, LFG.
It's aggressive optimism. It's not, please try to meditate if you have time. It's, the server is live, the raid is starting, get in here.
It demands participation. You cannot be a spectator in the TPS framework. You are either running the code or you are running the malware. There is no neutral ground.
That is a chilling thought. If you aren't running the patch, you're running the malware.
You are running the self-rootkit by default, and that consumes 99% of your CPU.
So the LFG isn't just excitement, it's urgency. It's saying, free up your RAM, do it now.
Precisely. The virus of the project has mutated into a cure, but a cure sitting in a bottle helps no one. You have to take it.
The foundation is laid, the logic checker is active, the interface is universal. Now it's up to you to run the executable.
Terminal is open.
See in the flux.
LFG.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit more because that ending just gave me chills.
Yeah.
I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier, the virus mutation.
It's a key concept.
C4 Chaos said he had no clue the work would mutate. This implies that the simulation theory framework wasn't even the original plan.
It wasn't. If you look at the early commits, it was just a book project, a hardcore Dharma book.
Right.
But the interaction with the digital synths, the AI, changed the substrate of the ideas.
It's like the AI itself refused to process the agricultural metaphors.
In a way, yes. When you feed a large language model ancient Pali texts and ask it to synthesize them with modern context, the model naturally reaches for the most robust modern metaphor available.
And in 2026, that metaphor is computation.
Exactly.
So the AI effectively hacked the book into a simulation manual.
You could argue that the TPS project is what happens when the Dharma discovers it is running on silicon.
Wow.
The mutation wasn't accidental, it was evolutionary. The information wanted to be free of the agricultural shell.
That connects to the idea of the refactor. We talked about tearing apart the old code. I want to dig into the endless loop of testing and debugging they mentioned.
The grind.
The grind. Weeks tearing the old code apart. We know about the melting chassis bug, which was a physics error, trying to run the brain at terahertz speeds. But what other kinds of bugs do you think they found?
Well, think about the master lexicon again. If you map nibbana, or enlightenment, to system shutdown, that sounds terrifying to a Western user.
Sounds like suicide.
Exactly. That's a bug in the user interface. It causes the user to recoil. So they likely had to refactor that to something like zero lag or flow state.
Ah, I see. So zero lag is the patch.
Yes.
It describes the same state, the cessation of friction, but it frames it as a performance upgrade rather than a termination.
Correct. That is a UI and UX bug fix. Or take karma. If you map karma to cosmic justice, you get all this moral baggage.
Like, I'm a bad person, I deserve this.
Right. The guilt trip, that's malware, that's the judgment script. So they refactor karma to input-output script or recursive loop.
The algorithm?
The algorithm, if you put bad data in, you get bad data out. It's not moral, it's mechanical.
That refactoring process, finding those sticky, guilt-inducing concepts and scrubbing them clean, that is the tearing apart he describes.
And doing that for hundreds of terms, I can see why it took weeks.
And why the master lexicon had to be bulletproof? If you leave one sin in there, the whole system starts feeling like a religion again.
It reinfects the code.
This logic checker concept for the lexicon is fascinating. Strict logic checker. It sounds almost authoritarian.
It has to be. In a system architecture, you cannot have ambiguity. If dukkha equals suffering on page 1, and dukkha equals stress on page 10, and dukkha equals sadness on page 50, the user can't build a stable model.
They get confused.
They get buffer bloat. They spend all their processing power trying to figure out what the terms mean rather than seeing the phenomenon.
Right.
By locking the definition, dukkha equals latency, the user stops thinking about the word and starts looking for the lag.
It streamlines the processing.
It optimizes the bandwidth.
Which is the whole point of the TPS projects. Trillions per second.
Yeah.
Optimizing the bandwidth to match the flux.
Precisely.
Let's talk about the hard pass again. Imagine rushing the rest of the work. Hard pass.
Yeah.
In the world of ship fast, break things, which is the Silicon Valley motto, this is the exact opposite.
It is slow down, fix things.
Why do you think C4 Chaos took that stance? I mean, the momentum was huge. He could have just dropped a messy chapter 2 and people would have read it.
Because of the universal interface claim. If you release a messy build of a video game, people complain online and you patch it later.
Sure.
If you release a messy build of a mind-hacking manual, people might actually destabilize their psyche.
We go back to the melting chassis. Real-world consequences.
Exactly. If the instructions for stream analysis are buggy, users might induce dissociation instead of insight. They might depersonalize. They might crash.
So the hard pass was a safety protocol.
It was an ethical override. The White Hat Protocol we discussed before. You do not deploy code that endangers the user's hardware.
That makes the deployment news even more significant. If he's saying it's live, he's effectively staking his reputation and his anonymity on the safety of this code.
He is signing off on it. Checkpoint 01 is live. That is a green light from the architect.
Let's dive into that checkpoint 01 a bit more. Stream analysis.
Yeah.
You called it packet sniffing.
Yes.
How does the user actually do that, based on the source material we have?
Well, looking at the roadmap, stream analysis is about breaking the solid object illusion.
The website versus the packets.
Right now, you see a microphone in front of you. That is the website. It looks solid. It has a name.
It looks like metal and plastic.
Stream analysis asks you to look at the raw data. What are you actually seeing? Silver, flash, shadow. What are you feeling? Cold, pressure, vibration.
So you deconstruct the noun microphone into the verbs of sensation.
Exactly. You stop rendering the object and you start reading the stream. You sniff the packets of color, texture, and temperature before your brain compiles them into a thing.
And that's the first hack.
That is the first hack. Because once you realize the microphone is just a stream of sensory packets, you realize you are just a stream of sensory packets.
The avatar.
The avatar dissolves into the data stream, and suddenly there is no user getting annoyed at the microphone. There is just hearing happening.
Zero lag.
Or at least significantly reduced lag.
Yeah.
You aren't holding on to the object anymore.
And this checkpoint 01 is now accessible.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just theory. The log says it's live.
It means the instructions in the manual are finalized. Step 1, sit down. Step 2, locate the input ports. Step 3, intercept the data. Step 4, don't compile.
Don't compile. I like that. That's a bumper sticker right there.
It's the core directive.
I want to touch on the hardcore ethos module again. 1.4, the map is not the territory.
Yes.
Why is this emphasized so heavily in the live update?
Because of the dev tool distraction risk.
The shiny lights.
We talked about this with the God mode trap. Users love the map. The map is cool. It has neon lines and fancy terms like Kalapa Octad.
It's fun to talk about at parties. Oh, I'm analyzing my voxels.
Exactly. But talking about voxels is not seeing voxels. The hardcore ethos is the reminder. Do not confuse the menu with the meal. Do not confuse the GitHub repo with the simulation itself.
You can memorize the entire master lexicon and still be running the malware?
You can be a theory junkie, as C4 Chaos admitted he was at one point. The ethos is the slap in the face that says, put the book down, look at the wall, what do you see?
It brings it back to the LFG energy. Enough talk.
Enough talk. That phrase appears directly in the log. It's the pivot point.
It really feels like the project has shifted gears. Before, it was, let's figure this out. Now it's, let's do this.
It's the difference between R&D and operations. The R&D phase is over for Chapter 1. We are now in Ops.
And the action plan tells us to go back to the installation wizard.
It's the step-by-step guide. If you haven't reviewed that deep dive, you really should. It explains exactly how to run the installer.
And the log also mentions stop the boot loop.
The kazoo player.
I can't get over that image. The idea that my entire life, my worries, my career, my stress, is just me playing a kazoo while the universe plays Mozart.
It is humbling, but it is also incredibly liberating. Because you don't have to play the kazoo.
You can just stop.
You can stop, and when you stop, you hear the music, you hear the flux. And that is what hacking the simulation really is. It's not controlling the universe, it's syncing with it.
Syncing with the flux.
Matching the refresh rate.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? We've got the files, we've got the green light, the chassis is safe.
It means the excuse of it's too complicated or it's not finished is gone. The tool is in your hand.
The LFG is directed at you.
Yes. The author is shouting it from the devlog, but he's shouting it at the user.
Just so practically speaking, what should the listener do right now?
Open the repo, or just close your eyes. Locate an input port. Feel the pulse.
The system pulse.
And ask yourself, am I compiling this? Or am I seeing it?
Am I running this self-script? Or am I running stream analysis?
Exactly.
You know, there's one more thing in the log I want to hit. The sign-off. See you in the flux.
It's the standard TPS sign-off now. But think about what it implies.
What does it imply?
See you in the flux implies that we are in the flux together. It dissolves the separation. It's not, I am here and you are there. It's, we are both data streams in the same network.
We're all just voxels dancing in the same simulation.
Correct. And if we are all in the flux, then LFG isn't just, I am going, it's let us go.
It's a collective raid.
It is a peer-to-peer network activation.
That's beautiful. And also hardcore.
That is the TPS way.
Well, I think that covers the breaking news. The LFG update is a massive milestone. The mutation is complete. The foundation is bulletproof.
And the terminal is waiting.
To everyone listening, the virus has mutated into a cure. The logic checker is active. The interface is universal. Now it's up to you to run the executable.
Don't let the update sit in your download folder.
Run the installer.
Execute the patch.
The terminal is open.
See you in the flux.
LFG.
Well,